hard to look right at your baby, but here's my number, so call me maybe.
We achieve it, it's kind of up to us. So let's move on to the next paragraph. That to secure these rights, and these rights, we're talking about life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. So really the purpose of government, make sure you're writing these notes down, of government is to protect these rights. So governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, meaning they get their powers from the people. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, meaning that the government takes these rights away or tries to, it is the right of the people being us, to alter or abolish it, and to institute a new government, laying its foundation. So they're saying if the current government is trying to take these rights away, then it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to start a new government, as long as that government is based on principles and powers that will protect those rights. So such principles and powers that shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. So protect those rights. Now it's interesting, they're basically saying that people have the right to overthrow the government. Now governments have been overthrown since the beginning of time, but generally speaking, those overthrowing the government are other kings. They're just attacking other countries and taking over. This is one of the first instances of the people doing that. Okay, let's go to our next paragraph. Oh, and by the way, Jefferson being the architect, Franklin and Adams also had input. Franklin, he probably had a little more to lose because he spent a lot of time going back and forth trying to negotiate and avoid a war with England. He also was a negotiator with France. So, which, interesting enough, we fought against, the British and the colonists fought against the French in the French and Indian War that we discussed earlier. So it probably wasn't too hard for him to talk France into helping us out in the Revolutionary War, which is a big reason why we won. So let's switch colors again and go to the next paragraph. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. Long established. So it's saying that governments that have been around forever shouldn't be changed just for the sake of changing it, which would be the light and transient causes. And according all experience have shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. Okay. But when a long train of abuses and, by the way, we have this where it says, even though you should avoid trying to change the government because it can cause more trouble than it's worth sometimes. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under. So if the government is trying to, time and time again, reduce the people to despotism, it is their right, it is their duty, and I know you're laughing at that word, but it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards or new government for their future security. Okay, much the same, giving an explanation for why they're overtaking or why they are declaring themselves independent from Britain. Such has been the patient sufferance of the colonies it's important, they said patient sufferance. And at this point, there would be a list of grievances, a long list if you look up the actual copy online. It lists the grievances or the wrongs that the colonies have suffered under the British Empire. And we've talked about those. Those are all those causes of the revolution that we went over. Patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity, and we'll go back, patient stuff. The necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. So, and it says the necessity which constrains them to alter their former system. So those grievances that it lists that they put up with are the reason that they're doing this. Therefore, let's see, we, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America and General Congress, assembled appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies. So who gave them the authority? The people of the colonies. Solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are and of right ought to be. So it just makes sense. If we go back and talk about Thomas Paine in his book Common Sense, it just makes sense to be free and independent states. So right there. Now we're talking about treason. So which would be punishable by death. So all these guys are signing their death warrant now. That they are absolved from all allegiance. Absolved means they're free and clear of all allegiance to the British crown. So we have nothing to do with you. We don't owe you anything. And that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved. They're leaving nothing to question. Totally means everything. And that as a free and independent states, they have full power. So now we're going into what we have the power to do because we're free and independent. We have full power to levy war, which is what they're basically doing, conclude peace, contract alliances or friendships, such as the one with France, establish commerce, and now you are no longer going to tax us, and we're not going to pay the tax, so we're going to conduct our economy the way we see fit, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. That was a mouthful there. That was a long. See, if you wrote that sentence, I would count off for being a run-on sentence, but that was a loaded sentence. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence or purpose, meaning that it's God's will that they do that, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. So they're going to give all that up in the name of freedom. Okay. Now it's interesting, they talk about their creator here. It's known that a lot of these founding fathers were deists, meaning they believed in some form of a God. They weren't necessarily Jesus Christ or the Christian God or Islam or Judaism or any of the other religions. Aside from Adams was really adamant, and he was probably one of the ones responsible for getting the creator added in there. He would have been pretty adamant about that. So there you go, guys. I want to see these notes that we have taken. You're also free to take other notes. I'm going to add a couple of videos to go along in here. It should give you some extra information. So this is our first flipped classroom video for social studies. So just take some time, look over it, fast forward, rewind, rewatch, whatever you need to do. And we will discuss this important document further and move into the battles of the Revolutionary War in our next video together. So hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.